Okay. Well, welcome to the Certification Advisory Council meeting, Tuesday, April 24th. And so we'll get started. The meeting is being webcast today, so people from outside can view the proceedings. So be on your best behavior. I'll try to be on my best behavior. So we do have some coordinating board staff present with us today. Gary Tomlin is the Deputy Assistant Commissioner for Academic Quality and Workforce. I'm Rex Peebles. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Academic Quality and Workforce. And I will ask each of the committee members to go around and identify themselves, if you would. And we'll start with our chair.
Good morning. I'm Donna Jurek, the Executive Vice President at St. Edward's.
I'm Jennifer Ram. I'm the Vice President for Business and Finance at Mary Hardin Baylor.
I'm Joyce Williams, Associate Vice Chancellor at Dallas County Community College District.
I'm Diana Miller. Just got a new title, so it's the Health Science Director.
Melissa Armitar, I'm Vice President for Student and Academic Success at Lamar Institute of Technology.
So we do have a quorum present for this meeting. And at this point, I would like to ask the folks who are representing, what's the new title? The United States American College of Business and Healthcare to identify themselves.
Thank you so much. We have this kind of opportunity. We can come by here. My name is Lisa Ling. I'm U.S. American College of Business and Healthcare President. Thank you.
And I'm Dr. Alan Preston. I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs, Assessment, and Research. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for being here. And at this point, then, I will turn this over to our chair.
Welcome again. And we'll begin with looking at the July 25th meeting summary notes. Are there any corrections, revisions, changes that need to be made in those notes? I guess I should turn this on. Hearing none, I would ask that, could we have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 25th meeting?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
So moved, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I second.
Any further discussion? If not, could we simply say aye? I guess we need to do it individually, and we could start with Melissa.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, the minutes of the July 25th, 2017 meeting are approved with no revisions. And so now we would like to begin with the consideration of the application for its first certificate of authority for the United States American College of Business and Healthcare. And as we consider that first certificate of authority, I would remind the Certification Advisory Council members that they received the site evaluation team's report and the USACBH response prior to the meeting. And we would like to begin with asking Ms. Lynn or Dr. Preston from USACBH to provide a 5 to 10 minute overview of the institution's degree programs applied for and how the institution came to split from the Texas Health and Science University, so that we can understand better both the new institution and how the split came about.
All right, well, my name again is Alan Preston, and I'll give you a little bit of a background as to what motivated us to split the programs into two different ones. As I'm sure everyone is keenly aware, we were nationally accredited through ACICS, and of course they lost their recognition. And when they did, we in 1,000 other schools had to seek alternative accreditation. And so that became a rather arduous process from the perspective that even though we're probably one of the smaller schools you'll encounter in Texas, we probably are the most complicated small school you'll ever run into. From this perspective, we have 6 programs that consist of largely acupuncture and business. And so those are the 2 domains that the 6 programs fall under. The challenge that we had is finding one national accreditor that had the scope and authority to accommodate all 6. So some of them could accommodate some of the programs, but not all. Like as an example, ACICS has recently gained their recognition with the U.S. Department of Education. We don't know, none of us know, of course, ultimately how that will turn out. But nevertheless, we have a doctorate programs, and we have master's programs, and we have bachelor programs. So on the doctorate program, ACICS does not recognize, that's not within their scope on the doctorate program. So, and then for the ACOM, which is the regional accreditor for all the acupuncture and oriental medicine throughout the United States, they don't have the scope of authority to do any of the business programs. So now the question becomes, for institutional accreditation, what do we do? And after a tremendous amount of deliberation, advice, and counsel from THECB staff, which has been tremendously helpful in guiding us and assisting us through this process, we thought that probably the better thing to do is to split it off into 2 different institutions where we essentially transfer out 4 of the programs to the new college, United States American College of Business and Healthcare, and leave 2 of the programs which are in the scope of the ACOM's accreditation, which is the doctoral program and the Masters of Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. So that's what kind of motivated us to split the schools. Certainly something that we resisted. We would rather have had kept everything the same. It would have been certainly easier for the students. It would have been less disruptive for the staff, faculty, and everyone involved. Unfortunately, life being what it is, we had to accommodate the accreditors, and that's what led us down the path of partitioning the 2 schools out with the different programs, most of them, 4 of them in the U.S. American College of Business and Healthcare, and the 2 remaining ones, the Master's in Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine and the doctoral program for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, remain at the Texas Health and Science University program.
And I'm assuming you do not want to add anything else at this time?
And I'm open to any questions you have. That's sort of the background and why. And again, it's even though it's a little unusual from this perspective that more often than not, I suspect that when you guys are looking at granting certificate of authority to new schools, they are indeed a new school. We, on the other hand, are really an existing school with existing programs, transferring them to a new entity. So it's slightly different than you would normally probably see in a quote-unquote new school program, by way of background. Thank you.
Then I would turn to Dr. Ann Mirabito. I'm probably murdering your name. The Site Evaluation Chair. And if you could provide us with a background in terms of the team's report and how we might want to look at it.
Certainly, be delighted to do that. Thank you for the opportunity to meet with you. I am representing the visiting site team. There were 3 of us on the team. My team members include Ann McFadden, PhD, who is Associate Professor of Strategy at University of Texas at Arlington. David Salgado, DOM, who's a practitioner at Energetics. He's also an examiner and a reviewer for New Mexico State Board of Acupuncture. And he's also an Oriental Medicine site reviewer for ACOM, the Accreditation Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. And I'm Ann Mirabito. I'm a PhD, and I'm Associate Professor of Marketing at Baylor University. I teach in our MBA and our Executive MBA programs. I teach marketing strategy and also healthcare marketing strategy. And our team was assisted by Paul Schuler, who was extraordinary and very helpful to us. So that's the background for the team. Would you like to know, top line, what we
Yes,
came away with? So our task was to look at the qualifications of the school for offering 4 programs: the Bachelor of Business Administration, the Bachelor of Science in Traditional Chinese Medicine, the MBA, and the MBA in Healthcare Management. So those are the 4 programs the school is seeking to offer. We concluded that the applicant meets all 24 standards outlined in Chapter 7. At the time of the visit, we concluded that the applicant met 18 of the 24 standards. Since then, the applicant has taken steps to meet the other 6 standards to our satisfaction. So some highlights of our evaluation and our experience with the school. First of all, as people have commented on, this applicant's sister school, THSU, is a very successful institution. They have a track record for we observed a track record for providing quality education, and that it's organizationally solid. Strong culture, solid finances, good staffing. And the applicant, the new school, has the same owner. It shares key staff with THSU, and it's going to be co-located with THSU. So we believe that the school is on a solid foundation to start out with. We were particularly impressed by the governance of the institution. The bylaws and procedures of the board of directors are competent. What particularly intrigued us is this, that the board is a workable size. There are 5 people on the board, and so it's a working board. All of the members of the board are highly accomplished individuals, and the tenure of the board members is long. And when we inquired as to why, because these are very accomplished people who are on the board of this institution, it appears that it's because of their commitment to traditional Chinese medicine. So we're favorably impressed that this is a board that is committed to the institution and to providing good direction for the organization. We saw evidence that the school takes institutional assessment seriously. We saw evidence of an open culture. When we talked to students, students were very, very pleased with their experience at the school. And when we pressed them about that, they felt that they've got good relationships with the staff and with Lisa Lynn, with the staff, the faculty, and with Lisa Lynn. And they said that when there are hiccups that happen or when there are experiences that are not working favorably, the school takes action fast. That it's a transparent culture and people want to make things right. That impressed us. We thought that the curriculum was generally appropriate. We did have some concerns about the MBA program. With the rigor of the MBA program, the school has responded by planning to change out the textbooks that are being used in the program. The school had explained that the textbooks, which we thought were in some cases just too junior for an MBA program, that one of the challenges the school is dealing with is that students are very diverse. And so they've got some students who are not maybe ready or don't have the language skills to be able to handle a traditional MBA textbook. On the other hand, it's a master's program, and so they're working to find books that are appropriate and deliver the right level of rigor. So lastly, the other thing that impressed us was the infrastructure of the school. Again, the basics, that the classrooms are airy, they are neat, clean, suitably equipped, PowerPoint, internet, whiteboards, skeletons, massage tables. So the equipment is there for students to be able to do their work. The libraries intrigued us. My colleague who on the site team who's familiar with traditional Chinese medicine said that the library he saw that contains Oriental and Western medicine texts is one of the broadest that he has seen. So a very solid library. On the business side, the school has a strong relationship with St. Mary's and has access to business databases. So students get access to the same kind of databases that you'd get at a Tier 1 research university. That was impressive to us. So that's our top line of what we took away from the institution.
Or invite questions from the Certification Advisory Council that you would like to address to our guests.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of questions, but I'll just start with one I think that would probably be simple. And that is, based on the information that we have in front of us, and of course the explanation of why the split happens. What my question is that I am assuming that the board of the 5 people will be the same board for both institutions. Is that correct? And so based on that, my question is, can you give me a little bit more information about the makeup of the board? I heard the team said that the board is committed because of traditional Chinese medicine. So, but since the organization that we're talking about has 4 programs, and one of them only being the traditional Chinese medicine. So I'd like to know the makeup of the board of those 5 members to see what other background that they have.
Okay, I will be happy to introduce the 5 board members. The chair of the board is Dr. Lou Agnesi. He was University in Cornwall president for 32 years. He was the vice chair before, about 15 years ago. And here, our school chairman, former Texas Attorney General Jim Mattox, passed away. Then he from the vice chair to be a chair. Right now, he's a chairman for so many years, over 1 decade. The second person is the vice chair. He's Dr. Fong. He teach in UT Santonia. He got a PhD from University of Texas. And the third person is Tom Chen. He's a banker. He's one huge Chinese bank, in Houston area. He's a banker. He's also stockholder. He's on the board for the bank. So he's do business. Also, he have a lot of investment in Louisiana for the hotel business. And the number 4 is Brother Rook. Is our church member. He's in lifetime dedicated to the law. Because even we are for-profit school, but a lot of times we have to depend on the faith. So we invite him. He's original governing board member since day 1, 1990. And number 5 is Pauline, is my husband. He do a lot of international business. Even in 1990, we represent China Oil Pipeline Bureau for all the North America for almost 10 years. Even before that, he do a lot of trading business around the world. So that's why I think those 5 people, they are very qualified because we understand for MBA and MBA healthcare, it's very, very important, it's more practical. You can see our school enrollment, those students, they don't need a GRE, they don't need a GMAT, because we give them the most important is training them to be a professional expertise. It's not a focus like most university, traditional university give them more academic portion. And our students is very, very diverse. And we have a small group, but they come from different countries. And last time we have a graduation, 15 people graduate, including Chinese medicine. They come from 9 different countries. So this why it's very diversity, and we need to teach them American culture. They got their bachelor degree in their country, and then they come to the United States. They need to understand American culture. A lot of times we teach them. That's why I told all my students, special MBA and MBA healthcare, and I told them you must read the Wall Street Journal, a lot of news. Even you need to spend at least 1 hour to 2 hours time to understand what's going on in the community in this world. Then you can smell how is Wall Street, the stock will be going up or going down. Because all the big environment, one country, something happen, can be effect all the universal. So that's why I feel so happy. My students, they can all follow this kind of instruction. And sometimes they come from different country, from their country's background, and they can share with us. Because I am the educator, I'm in here in the United States for 38 years. I understand the culture is different. Even UT, many years ago, invited me to be UT diversity advisor. I've been volunteer there for 2 years. I totally understand the cultural gap. And my job, or educator, to not leading them to come to this country to receive education. We need them to see the big picture, how we can work together. And after they graduate from my school, after OPT, they went back to their country. They can bring American culture to their country. I think that's wonderful things, what we have to do.
Thank you. As a follow-up to my question about the board and its makeup, do you report directly to the board, all of those 5 members, including your husband and all of those?
Yeah, I need each time each quarter, we have a board meetings. I need to be report to all the board members. Okay. Yeah, the reason, even my husband on the board, he do not own any single share. I own 100%. That's why we must have a road distance, because I'm the stockholder. That's why I'm not in the board. Every quarter, I need to report to them. Sometimes, like this time, we try to separate for 2 schools. We have an emergency meeting. Dr. Nisi, he's in Italy, outside the country. We have an overseas phone call, emergency call. And we always 5 people, the board member, they are very tight with the school. Everything happen, I know in the report to them. Because even I understand the board member, we invite them, they are volunteer. For this is so many years, they never receive even 1 penny. And they come here, we do not pay for the mileage fee. They have used their gasoline to pay by themselves.
We do give mortgages.
And then one time I remember St. Edward University sister, she visited us. She said, I do not understand. Dr. Nisia, he's triple busy. Why he come to your so tiny school? I don't understand, because we understand Dr. Nisia we respect him tremendously, because he put his school, the school to be a number 1, put the family to be a number 2. He understands because he have a lot of patience for education. That's why he found I'm the one. Even 38 years ago, I challenged medical board to bring Chinese medicine come to this beautiful country, later have a school and have an acupuncture board. That's why he totally understands to be an educator, a lot of times you need to do a lot extra miles. So that's why in all board rule, we do not pay anything to the board member. Everybody is volunteer to do that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll follow with other questions later.
Other questions?
Could you speak a little bit about some of the assumptions that you used in the 2018 through 2020 budget?
Some of the what?
Some of the assumptions. So kind of, if I'm looking at that, there's maybe 2 different budgets. One with in 2018, enrollment of 17 students. One with 13 students. So just kind of the differences in the 2 different budgets that are presented.
Yeah, so what we did is let me first start off by saying who's our target audience and who are we trying to appeal to. So the target audience really is going to be largely international students. As Lisa Lynn had indicated, they still do a lot of business in China and Taiwan. And so when they go back and forth, there are institutions in those countries that are very interested in sending students to the United States to get a MBA and to get educated in in the U.S. curriculum. So when they go back to China, they go back to Taiwan, they have that sort of American influence, if you will, on the management side for their businesses and practices. So so the numbers are what we think that we'll be able to recruit largely from international. There'll still be some students that will come from the United States and some from the local area. And we set it up in such a way, and Lisa sort of alluded to it in the sense that what we try to do is be very accommodating to professionals. And so how do we do that? What we do is we offer classes on the weekends and some at night so that people that are currently working, that have the bachelor, that want to further their education, can do so by going on the weekends and on the evenings. So so the assumptions on the enrollment really are what we think is achievable by recruiting from largely from international students. So that's that assumption.
So what's your current enrollment now?
We have 7.
7 is the
7
current
enrollment, and 1 will be graduate on April. Yeah. Then we have 6 students.
Okay,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so you're projecting that you would recruit then 11 students for fall of 2018?
Yeah.
And how do you recruit the students? Do you use agencies
No.
overseas, or do you?
No, we do not use the agency in the overseas. Usually, we just buy the league, for the TOEFL score, and the TOEFL score, and the GRE, GMAT. Yeah.
And then in the United States, we attend a lot of different local community colleges, and
Yeah.
we make our presence known so that students that are interested in furtherance of their education in one of these different programs, we let them know. So we have recruiters both in the San Antonio campus and the Austin campus that do this almost on a weekly basis. They're constantly going out into the community.
A lot of times, because, for example, we have a student from Turkey, from Pakistan, come from India, because they are people all tied together as a group, This is why if they know this good school, and they will talk with their people, and then
Word of mouth.
word from the mouth, and then they will come from their country to come here, because they understand, because you have to realize, because one foreigner come to this country, they want to go to some school. The school really can pay attention to them. A lot of people, they say they went to big university. Something happened, they don't know who to knock the door. And we are so tiny school, I treat my students just like my own kids. All my students, they have my cell phone number. All my students, they have my cell phone number. Because in case they have academic dean cell phone number, they have a whole bunch of staff people's cell phone number. In case they have anything they need, we always there to help them.
They have my cell number too, and they do contact Lisa. I've been in her office when the student is texting or calling. So,
Could you speak a little bit about the pledge to the coordinating board, the pledged assets?
the $33,000 pledge assets.
I'm not certain. It said the one semester's
Sure.
worth.
Yeah, so there was a new rule that was passed that that basically is attempting to make sure that all colleges and universities in Texas have adequate financial protection for the students in the event that there's some catastrophic event with the university, that they can refund, some or all of the tuition, depending upon when they, if they went out of business, when they went out of business. So we were, I think we may have been the very first school in Texas to actually create the pledge and the surety bond on behalf of THECB and pledge those assets to them for that protection.
And so if there's a March 31 balance sheet, is that pledge,
It's included in the balance sheet. I think it's around $33,000. You may see it from the
so is that the Wells Fargo savings?
Wells Fargo savings. That's
So
correct.
that's all pledged?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The money's still sitting there, nobody touch.
And it is an asset after all, so.
Got it.
And that-
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the result of legislation passed in the last session. And actually, it's a provision that's long been in Texas Workforce Commission's statute and rules that govern institutions that only offer certificates. But we regulate institutions that offer degrees.
Right.
And so we had never had that provision in there. And, and part of the spate of institutions that went out of business prompted our board to pursue this and look into it. And so it came about in the last session, and it essentially says that the institutions have to put up in some kind of surety instrument. And there's a lot of different, there's a number of different ways to do this, but as long as it's pledged to the coordinating board, so that we can then tap into it to reimburse students in the semester that the institution might go out of business.
And I think it's
Essentially,
going to affect about 300 schools, is from what I understand, when you guys did the
Yeah,
analysis.
250, something like that,
And
yeah.
just to FYI, since I'm here and we're talking about that, we're happy to work with THECB and the coordinating board to look at other available ways to do that through insurance programs, as opposed to taking a ton of cash and pledging the full amount of the cash, because we think that might be, we're in pretty good shape, but some of the other institutions that are not as fiscally sound as we are, that rule might actually be one of the drivers that puts them at financial risk. So we want to, we're also pledging not just the dollars, but our intellectual capital to help you guys in shoring that up for those schools. So.
And what's your current tuition?
Tuition fee is about $4,400 per twice semester, $4,400. Very, very cheap. Most MBA and MBA healthcare is much more expensive than us.
So that's the annual of a little bit over $9,000 annually?
Annually, because we are 3 semester, and each semester about $4,400, and times 3 about $13,000
$13,000
per
a year.
3 semester. MBA we have a 4 semester. MBA healthcare we have 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many semester credit hours per trimester does that account for?
9 credit.
9?
9
That's
credit.
what I thought.
36 hours for the MBA and 45
45 for
the
MBA
MBA
healthcare.
healthcare.
Right.
I'll go after you.
I have a curriculum question. I see from your materials that any student who completes a general education 60-hour degree can enter your business program,
It's a
correct?
BBA.
Yes.
It's a Bachelor's
Bachelor's of
BBA,
Business
right.
Administration. So coming from a 2-year institution, we
Correct.
offer 6 different academic degrees. So if they complete any of those academic degrees, whether it's in math, biology, business, they can enter into your program?
Yes, for BBA. BBA, this program, in many years ago, ACICA's accreditation, or there's a full program for business, and our expired date until December 2019. Yeah, because due to this kind of tragedy, that's why we separate 2 schools, right?
In reviewing the curriculum materials, there was a lack of undergraduate classes, so y'all don't offer any.
We don't have a first year, second year,
courses,
right?
just-
Right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, we operate much like Texas A&M and San Antonio did for their first 5 years in existence. They only did the junior and senior level, and the Alamo colleges did the first 2 years.
Thank you.
The general eds.
Madam Chair? This question is for the team chair. I did note that on your original site visit, you did note about financial stability based on Ms. Lynn being the president, as well as being the owner, and as well as owning the building. basically. So my question is that none of that has actually changed. So, oh, I'm sorry, you're shaking your head, so.
No, it hasn't changed.
No. So none of that has actually changed. So again, the concern was that if Ms. Lynn left the organization, that in itself, that would create a risk for the school because she's the president, she owns the school, and she actually owns the building that the school is in. So can you tell me, as the chair and the team, when you say if all findings were addressed, is that still not a concern from the team?
Not a concern. Whoops. Our view is that the success of this program, of THSU's success, is driven in large part by Lisa Lynn, surrounded by a lot of other folks that she brings on board. She's clearly a driving force for the institution in the way that in many organizations there's an entrepreneur who is the driving force for the organization and creates the culture, the direction, the energy. Our concern was not so much that if she left, that she might decide to go in a new direction. That's not what our concern is. Our concern is that, at some point we all
Die.
Yes. And our recommendation is that the school think about succession planning in the same way that all organizations should think about succession planning. That's what our perspective is. And we don't believe that succession planning is something that would happen within 2 months. That that's something that the board needs to take seriously and Lisa Lynn needs to think through. And we expect that this is going to be an ongoing process for them.
Can I address a couple of things as well? Almost all institutions have leases with the buildings that they occupy if they don't own them outright, but most of them have leases of some sort on the private side anyway. And so from that perspective, whether or not Lisa Lynn would be the president or not the president and owning the building, it's a lease. It is a contractual arrangement between the school and the owner of the building. So that's number one. So that takes that kind of, regardless what she decides to do, personally or otherwise, that lease is in place. And so there is an obligation between the owner of the building to provide the services as the landlord to whoever the tenant may be, in this case, the two schools, the USA College of Business and Healthcare and THSU. And the second part is the stockholder part. And as we all know, stockholders are indeed the owners of all publicly and privately held corporations. And so the fact that she's a stockholder shouldn't really be that too big of an issue. In fact, it's actually a good thing because there's continuity in terms of ownership and control between the two organizations. So in that sense, I think that that's actually a positive and really helps for the continuity reasons between those. And then to Ann's point, clearly, succession planning is something that all organizations struggle with. It is a reality that they all have to deal with. Lisa's keenly aware of succession planning, and we've talked briefly from time to time about that, and those conversations will continue to occur.
Mr. President, I'm sure you saw my smile when you were describing that, and the reason I smiled is because of the fact that I think you just highlighted my question, not a concern, but my question, my very question, that you have the owner of the school that has a contractual agreement with the owner of the building.
Yes.
So in this case, the owner of the school is Ms. Lynn, and
Right.
the owner of the building is Ms. Lynn. So she has a contract with herself. And as you said, that she is a stockholder, and the stockholders then are held accountable or want to know that, and that fits that. So the owner of the building is a stockholder of the school, and the owner of the school who has obligations to the owner of the building who has obligations to the owner, to the stockholder. She's a stockholder, she's the owner of the building, and she's the owner of the school. So
Yeah.
she has all of these obligations to herself along the way. And so while I think we are all self-governing people, I just thought, that's very interesting as you were explaining that, how she would then be obligated to herself, self-govern herself through all of those processes.
Well,
But I-
yeah, and she doesn't per se self-govern because we have a governing board.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
she
that
is indeed held
consistency.
accountable with that governing board, and they sometimes put her feet to the fire. So I've seen that. So it does happen, and she's accountable to them, and they can remove her as the president. You know,
That,
so
that was
if-
my
if-
initial question.
Absolutely.
If she was removed from
She-
as a president, what would then happen along the way? But I think you've answered my question.
Very good, thank you.
And I thank you very much. I do have a follow-up, another follow-up question to the chair of the team. And initially, you talked about the partnership with St. Mary's.
I'm sorry. I meant
University Incarnate Word.
I misspoke.
Okay.
I misspoke. It should have been Incarnate Word.
Okay, so did you happen to see a written agreement, or is this just a long-lasting
agreement.
partnership?
Yeah,
Written
we
agreement?
have a rating agreement. Not only that, in Old Branch campus in San Antonio, we also with the University in Conway, we have a classroom in their Dr. Physical Therapy facility. We have 5 classrooms. We signed agreement for 10 years.
Yeah, we lease
Yeah.
space in their physical therapy. Beautiful, beautiful classrooms.
Very
by the way.
beautiful, right. I want to share with you, run school is not dependent on the person. Run school depends on the policy. That's why in our school, we have very good policy. Not only that, any position, we all have a spare tire. That means the whole entire school, we have 2 people know how to do this. I always tell them, in case I got an accident, the airplane crash, die, I believe someone can step in to be my position and doing better than me. And this kind of question is very reasonable. You raised that question. I remember many years in 1992, and the outcome people visited my school, and they asked, Lisa, everything's under you. How about one day you die? What will be happen? Very serious question. That's why immediately I purchased a huge amount of life insurance. That means one day I die, my baby still have food to eat. So that's why I always encourage my employee, I told them, good school is not dependent on one person to run. I believe good school is a teamwork. All the staff people, they work each other. Not only that, any single position will have 2 people. If one person got sick, the other one person can step in. I believe that. Just like I come from Taiwan, in that time, President Chiang Kai-shek died. All the country feels so sad, what we are doing, what we are going to do. And you can see Taiwan economy getting better and better. And one day, sometime my husband teased me, I'm going to ask a board to force you retire. Okay, step down. I told my husband, if someone we can find a capable president to step in my position, I believe the school run be better than me. Yeah, that's why I not hold this position forever. No. Anytime, if I think I need to step down, I can step down.
And also,
Ms. Lynn, who is your second person? You said that there was you, and then you had a second. So who is that?
who's your spare tire?
The spare tire.
Yeah, who is it?
Because this is I cannot share in here because it's very confidential, you know. I cannot share in here, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but in my mind, in my husband's mind, in governing board's mind, we already have a second person.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? I just have one, and it's more a curiosity question. There are 4 programs, which I'm assuming are moving from the original institution.
You're correct.
And I am assuming that the expectation is that if you get a certification of authority, that the students that are in those programs will move with the programs.
That's correct as well.
Can you share with us how many students are in those 4 programs total?
Right now, at this moment, only one graduate on April, only 6 students, all MBA.
There are only 6 in all 4 programs?
No, for a BBA, we are not start yet. And before, we have a BSTCM, Bachelor of Science for Traditional Chinese Medicine, because due to in that time, we don't know ACIC will be alive. That's why we'll push all the BSTCM go to the master degree. So before we have a Bachelor BSTCM students there, we are pushed to be, in that time we try to separate 2 schools, and one go to Archon. But Archon, they don't have a scope for the bachelor degree. Yeah, that's why, because enrollment master degree is the same as a BSTCM. They need a 60 semester hours enroll. So that's why we'll push them. They assign the documents and push them to the master
It's almost
degree.
like a tantamount, like a teach-out type of thing, in the
Right.
sense that
Right.
we moved them. So now we don't have any in the BSTCM as well for that reason, because we transitioned them to the master's program.
Okay, I hear you.
With their permission, obviously, and, you
Right.
know, we talked to them about it.
Yeah, and the BBA, we didn't enrollment because after ACIC approved us not too long, you know, they have that kind of tragedy. That's why we just stop enrollment. And the BBA, we are going to enrollment. We try to enrollment on this fall semester.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Clarification again on that. So the 6 students are enrolled in which of the 4 programs?
The
Is it-
MBA.
The
MBA,
MBA?
Yeah.
The MBA Healthcare and the MBA?
regular MBA.
Regular
Regular
MBA, right.
MBA. And no students are enrolled in the Chinese medicine program?
Well, the ones that were enrolled in the bachelors of traditional Chinese medicine have now agreed to pursue their masters, so now they're in the master's program as opposed to the bachelor program. So now we have 0 in the BSTCM when we have 0 in the BA program.
Yeah, because in that time, we try to push them to the Archon. And I also, my personal, I call to DOE, Washington, D.C., talk with their people. They say Archon, they don't have that kind of scope for the bachelor. That's why we need to protect students. We are moved to there. Until April 3rd,
Okay.
something happened.
Right.
That's why we are so surprised.
No, I understand, because what you're doing, what you had to do in order to satisfy the loss of accreditation was to teach out the students as far as you could.
Yeah, essentially, that's
because-
correct, yeah.
And then create a new entity. I get it.
That's right. Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I say. For this, we may be one of the smaller schools in Texas, but we are clearly the most complicated school you'll ever oversee in terms of looking at a new school curriculum. you know.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
trying to map exactly what was said, I get it now.
Right,
Thank
right.
you. Any other questions?
This is more of a housekeeping issue.
Sure.
But I noticed in your syllabi, you're still referencing THSU Student Handbook. Are you not going to have a student handbook for your U.S. American College of Business?
We've got it right here. But probably when we did the answer, this was in the works and is now completed.
You'll have your own student handbook.
Yeah, we have our own
policies.
student handbook, and that references the correct name. But
We
they'll be
also
involved.
explain to all the students about this kind of situation. He emailed to all the students. Students, they are totally understand,
Right.
and they are very happy. They are going to see what's going on. They are very happy. Yeah.
Any other questions? If there are no further questions, are we ready to make a motion regarding the recommendation to the commission?
Yeah,
Rex, would you like to
yeah, let me just,
redo the process or state it for everybody's
Yeah.
concern? Thank you.
yeah, let me just, say a little bit about how the process works from here. So first of all, remember that a certificate of authorization is good for 2 years. And at the end of that, or toward the end of that 2-year time period, then an institution can come back and apply for subsequent certificates of authority for up for a total of 8 years. And the idea behind a certificate of authority has always been that institutions in the meantime will seek accreditation elsewhere. And so, yeah, this is as both Ms. Lynn and Alan have pointed out, this is a very unusual situation that they wound up in, having programmatic accreditation, formerly programmatic accreditation with one place, institutional accreditation with another, that then lost their recognition, may or may not, well, they have it again, may or may not keep it, so who knows what that will bring. And so we fully expect that somewhere in that 8-year time period, all of this will get sorted out somehow, some way. But that's the way the certificate authority essentially works. The other thing to keep in mind is that the function of the council here is to make a recommendation to the commissioner, who then in turn will make a recommendation to the board. And so your recommendation carries an awful lot of weight in determining what staff and the commissioner and the board will then subsequently do. So.
I would then ask if there is a motion that someone is ready to make from the council.
One other little clarification on this. In your recommendation if you recommend approval, in that recommendation, you can also recommend that restrictions or contingencies be placed on the institution going forward. And then that's something that then the staff and the commissioner and board will then consider in going forward. But you do have that right. You don't have to do that. You can recommend approval without any contingencies or restrictions attached to it, or you can recommend with.
I would like to make a recommendation that we move this item forward to the commissioner. And I believe Joyce has some contingencies she would like to add.
Madam Chair, I'd like to amend the recommendation from my colleague by asking that we also consider a contingency plan on that Ms. Lynn then provides us in writing, since everything is publicized here, and she cannot provide that information based on the fact that we are public, that she does provide that information in writing to the committee, so that it can be reviewed as part of the recommendation going forward of who's her spare tire. I am concerned when we have that ownership of all of the organizations that rest in the hand of one person. So I see that the school is definitely financially stable. As you've said, Mr. Preston, all these changes caught you off guard, has certainly caught the students off guard. However, I don't want us to be caught off guard again. So I'm just recommending that we have a contingency. So based on that, Madam Chair, as we are in the recommendation phase of this, that would be my concern.
Excuse me? I don't think that is, I don't think that would be right, to ask me to write down who is the second person's spare tire.
Okay.
Because a lot of things not happen yet.
Okay.
A lot of things not happen yet.
Okay.
The most important around the school is depend on the policy, depend on personnel. And
Okay.
I cannot order like a dictator. I'm going to order who will be if I die or I step down, who will be the second person. We know any university to do that. According to I understand, that's a freedom country. And I cannot say who will be the second person. If I step down, who will be the second person. And then give to everything we turn to the state agency will be open record. If anybody can request Attorney General, ask open record, that will be brought out. Even like a university in Cornwall, after Dr. Nisia stepped down, they need to be equal opportunity to run the ad in the national looking for these people. If I'm going to write down who will be, then people, they will tease me, Miss Lin, you'll be like a dictator. I don't want to be like that,
Ms.
right?
Lynn, I just for clarity, the only reason I ask that you provide that information is because you said you had a person
I
in mind.
understand. I say that
So,
in
but
mind.
I understand, and
Yeah.
I will remove that
Okay, thank you.
contingency
Yeah,
as
thank you
part of
so
my
much.
vote, and do that.
Thank you so much, because even I recommend something, I still need a governing board to approve. I don't have that kind of power. Thank you. Yeah.
You said there is a policy in place, though, that says what would happen in the event of your untimely demise.
I don't understand what's your question.
Yes, the board would convene, take action, and make recommendations.
Right.
Whether to do a national search, a local search, or ask someone internally to step on, that's how that would happen. But I would also say that even if Ms. Lynn independently decided to leave as president and retain the stockholders and the owner of the building, that as a stockholder, they always want value in their organization. So she'll be very interested to make sure that people are doing the right thing. Because if you're the stockholder and you're the single stockholder, you don't get an investment on your return if they're messing up. And likewise, if they don't pay the rent, that could be a problem too. So she will be in a very vested interest in making sure that the school is successful as the owners.
Thank you.
Am I to understand that we have a motion that would now be, that we recommend approval to the commissioner
Yes.
without any?
Joyce has
reservation?
removed her contingency with no reservations.
Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Any further discussion of the motion? If we could then, Melissa, state your yay or nay to the motion?
Yay.
Yay.
Nay.
Yay.
I think under the rules, the motion passes with one negative vote. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1. And then, I think, Rex, do you have any updates or anything we need to consider further?
No, not really. At this time, we have received or in the process of receiving nominations for membership of the council for next year. And we have not vetted those as of yet, but I believe there's a meeting for that next week, or I think next week we'll start looking at those and vet the nominations next week. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is on July the 24th. And as usual, if there is no agenda items, then we will cancel the meeting and try to let everybody know that well in advance of July the 24th. And as I should have that on as well, and on your behalf, okay? But otherwise, we'll be seeking nominations from 2 private or institutions and 1 from a public institution.
And Rex, it's my assumption that if there is a meeting on July 24th, that this body would continue till
Yes.
August 31st.
Yes, it will be the current membership, and the new membership will will come in at the first meeting after September 1. Thank you. And also one other thing Cam asked me to remind you of is to make sure that you email your expenses to us, because we are required by law to keep a record of those things and report on them to the coordinating board and to the LBB, so the Legislative Budget Board.
I certainly want to thank certainly Dr. Tomlin and Dr. Peebles for being with us this morning, to thank all the members of the Certification Advisory Council, and to particularly thank Ms. Lynn, Dr. Preston, And Dr., would you say your name for me?
Mirabito.
Mirabito. I wasn't too
Yes,
far off.
you were very close.
And Dr. Mirabito for being with us this morning, and we certainly congratulate you on the recommendation of the council and wish you well as it proceeds through the commissioner to the Higher Education Coordinating Board and hopefully to your implementation of the recommendations. So, thank you. And I think at this point, we can consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you all for being here.